The Ember Pact. The fire burned low, sending curls of smoke into the cold night air. Sparks rose like tiny spirits, spiraling away into the black sky before dying. Around the circle of logs, figures huddled in their cloaks, breath fogging in the frigid silence. The storyteller sat motionless for a long moment, letting the wind sigh through the trees before he began to speak in a voice like dry autumn leaves. Listen close. There's no road back once you hear this tale. It's old, older than any kingdom you know, older than the stones of this forest. It's the kind of story that changes you if you let it. Some say you can't unlearn it once it's in your head, but you're all here by the fire. You asked for it, so I'll give it to you straight. It happened on a night much like this. Cold. Breath froze on your lips, the moon was a pale coin behind clouds, and the world felt like it was holding its breath. A band of wanderers, much like us, mercenaries, runaways, traders who'd lost their caravans, huddled around their own fire, trying to forget the silence pressing in from the dark. They were strangers to each other, united only by fear of what hunted in the woods. They thought themselves safe with flame and iron, but that night the world went quiet. Not just the wind dying, but everything. No crickets, no owls, no rustle of branches. The fire's crackle itself seemed embarrassed to break the hush. And then the sky split. A line of searing light carved it open, glowing orange and red at first, then a sickly, otherworldly green that turned the snow to glistening glass. It moved too slow to be a shooting star, too purposeful, trailing smoke that coiled and twisted like the fingers of something buried beneath the world trying to claw free. When it hit, the earth convulsed. Trees toppled like toy soldiers, roots snapping. The wanderers were thrown to the ground. The fire vanished in a gust that stole all warmth and light. For a moment, they were blind. And then came the glow. Green, unholy, pulsing from beyond the fallen trees, a steady heartbeat of light. Most wanted to run. Of course they did. You're not brave in the cold, dark woods. You're smart if you run. But one among them, a woman named Kaylin, was not smart in that way. She was something else. "That's not a star," she said, voice shaking. "That's a summons." She spoke like she knew what she was talking about. Maybe she did. They followed her because no one wanted to be left alone, and because it's easier to be led than to choose your own doom. They found the crater. It wasn't a rock that had fallen. It was a vessel. Metal, but not metal. It pulsed like something alive, exhaling vapor that turned to frost instantly. Symbols crawled across its surface in shifting lines of light that hurt the eyes to watch. A seam split open with a hiss. They drew blades, crossbows creaking in the hush. What stepped out was tall, impossibly thin. Its skin was stretched parchment, its eyes two endless wells of black. It moved like it had studied how to be human, but hadn't quite learned. It spoke in a voice like gravel pouring down a well. Ember Pact. Remember. That was all. It fell forward, dead or empty, its symbols fading to dull scars. Kaylin touched it. She screamed, her eyes boiling with green fire, searing her tears away. She collapsed, spasming, her voice fractured with echoes. When she stood, she wasn't just herself anymore. "I see it," she rasped. "I see what it wants." They nearly killed her then, called her possessed. But fear of her was outweighed by fear of what might come if they did nothing. She told them what the voice had shown her, an ancient pact. Long before any kingdom's founding, before the first city was raised from the mud, there was a deal struck. Not with gods, not with demons, but with something else. Something that had crossed the stars on wings of cold iron and dark light. They had made a bargain with the ancestors of humanity. "We will keep the stars safe from the dark that dwells between them. You will keep the earth safe from the dark that dwells below." Humans forgot their promise, but the watchers in the sky did not. Now the seal under the world was breaking. And so they had sent one of their dying kind, crash landing in fire and ice, to remind the children of dirt what they owed. Kaylin made them swear to follow, to find the maw, the place where the world split and the prison was kept, to seal it once more, or die trying. So they went, through forests that seemed to whisper their names in hatred, through villages emptied overnight, doors hanging open, meals left uneaten, nothing but bloody drag marks in the snow, through fields where the wind howled with voices that weren't voices, repeating questions no one dared answer. They lost people. One man vanished while taking watch. All they found was a single boot, standing upright in the snow as though he'd melted out of it. A woman fell asleep and would not wake, her skin growing black vines under it until she stopped breathing. Kaylin changed every day. Her eyes lost all color, leaving green light behind. Her voice fractured further, each sentence echoing with unseen speakers. But she never wavered. They reached the broken spine at last, mountains sharp as spears, wreathed in constant green lightning. The pass was blocked by monoliths covered in the same symbols as the fallen ship. Kaylin touched them, shuddering as they burned green lines into her palms. The stone split open with a sound like a dying god's scream. They walked into the earth, tunnels older than sin, walls covered in symbols that bled green light. The air grew cold enough to freeze tears to their faces. They heard things moving just out of sight. Sometimes those things spoke, whispers in languages no human throat could make. Promises, threats, bargains. They ignored them as best they could, but some listened. One man gouged out his own eyes after 3 days in the dark, saying he'd seen what lay ahead and would not watch it devour them. Another turned on them in the dark with a dagger, screaming that the seal must be broken, that freedom awaited them in the dark. Kaylin put him down with words alone. The darkness recoiled from her. She glowed like a dying star. Finally, they reached the maw, a chasm that went forever down, ringed with teeth of black stone. At its heart lay the seal, a disc of some blacker-than-black metal covered in writhing symbols. Cracks ran through it, weeping green fire. From those cracks, something spoke, voices like family, like lovers, like the gods themselves. It begged, it wept, it laughed, it promised everything. Kaylin walked forward alone. Her feet left green flames in the dust. She fell to her knees. "We broke the pact," she whispered. The seal shuddered. Cracks widened. Something enormous pushed from below. A hand, if you could call it that, a mass of eyes and teeth and glistening sinew, forced its way through, clawing at reality itself. The others ran, but Kaylin stayed. She pressed her burned, ruined hands to the seal. She screamed words that no human mouth was meant to form. Light exploded. The hand retreated, screeching. The cracks closed, one by one, glowing molten, then dull. The whispers died to sobs, then silence. When it was done, Kaylin lay smoking on the black disc. Her body was broken. Her eyes burned out, but she smiled. And then she died. The survivors sealed the tunnels as best they could. They carved warnings in the monoliths. They staggered back to the world above, broken, frostbitten, half-mad. They told the story to any who would listen, because the seal was only held, not healed. Someday it would crack again, and someone would have to remember the Ember Pact. The storyteller fell silent. The wind hissed through the trees. The fire popped. He glanced around the circle. "You think it's just a tale? Feel the cold creeping in? Even with the fire roaring? No crickets tonight. No owls. Maybe something fell again, and we're too busy listening to stories to notice." He leaned back, eyes gleaming with reflected flame. "So when you hear whispers from the ground tonight, do yourself a favor. Remember and run."